Hi everyone, my name is Brittany, and this is a new and original video for the brand new channel Travel Inspired. So today is Monday, January 31st, 2022, and I am here to show all of you how I plan a domestic and my international trips from start to finish. We're going to plan an entire trip. And I wanted to do this so that you get an idea of how I travel for so long on such a tight budget. So, a little bit about me before we really get into it. Once again, my name is Brittany. I run the travel blog Bon Voyage Brittany, as well as the Instagram under the same name. And I'm also an independent travel agent, certified independent travel agent, as well as a travel blogger or travel writer, excuse me. So, travel writer, travel blogger, content creator, travel agent. I do a lot of things in the niche of travel, as well as I've dabbled in some digital nomadism. So the last 6 months, I was in Mexico traveling on a budget of under $2,000 a month, all in. And it is incredibly possible for you to live a travel centric lifestyle if you are on a budget. And today I'm going to show you how I plan this out. So specifically, I'm going to plan an international trip. Now I'm no longer in Mexico. Right now I am in sunny and snowy Utah. I'm up in the mountains at a ski resort. And so I am going to fly out of Salt Lake City for the purposes of this video. We're going to plan from Salt Lake City. So I'm going to show you start to finish how I find flights, how I plan excursions, how I make a budget, and then how I decide kind of if this is the trip I'm going to take. And I do this a lot. This is something that I do for fun, but I think there are a lot of really awesome tips and tricks that you can glean from this video if you watch until the end. I think some of these tips are very helpful to know. So, for the purpose of this video, I am going to be traveling for the entire month of May. And I actually do have the month of May free, and I have been considering where I will be going. So this is not entirely hypothetical. I might actually end up taking this specific trip. We will see. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you for the next 45 minutes to an hour, and you can just see how I do everything. So the first thing that I do when I'm planning travel is I go to Skyscanner. Now, I never buy tickets on Skyscanner. This is very important. Pardon me. But I do use Skyscanner to get an idea of the cheapest flights that I could take. So I am in Salt Lake City, or near it, close enough anyway. And Salt Lake City, I do know, is not the cheapest airport to fly out of, but it is incredibly cheap to find a flight from Salt Lake City to either Los Angeles or Las Vegas. So I'm going to check all three of those airports and see where I can go. So here's how I think a lot of people don't quite use Skyscanner the correct way. So here's what I do. So let's do Salt Lake City. Nearby airports. I'm going to add that in, and then I'm going to go ahead and say everywhere. And for my purposes, I am able to travel for the entire month of May. So we're just going to do May. One adult, I tend to travel by myself. Okay. So once this loads here, Salt Lake City, everywhere in May. So we can see that Salt Lake City, it's a little expensive to fly out of. Round trip to Mexico for $216. I think we can find something a little bit cheaper. Also, I've been to Mexico a lot, so I'm not particularly interested in going back to Mexico anytime soon. Um, Costa Rica, I've been there as well. Colombia, um, I haven't actually been to Colombia. Do I want to spend an entire month there? Peru, I'm trying to keep this trip. I don't want to spend more than $500 round trip on a flight. I do know that if we do something like Belize, um, I can potentially do Belize and Honduras and Guatemala all in the same trip. For a month, that's a little long. Like that's not quite long enough, I think, to do that many countries. El Salvador, Puerto Rico. Let's do Colombia. Okay, Colombia, $365. Again, that is a little expensive, but I'm going to write down $365 to Colombia from Salt Lake City. It could be worth it to fly out of this airport. SLC. Just for convenience, it could be worth it. But let's go ahead and check somewhere else, like Las Vegas. For the same time period. Now, Las Vegas, flights to Las Vegas from Salt Lake City tend to be only $49 round trip. So, oh, and see, this is quite a bit of difference here. It's actually not as cheap to go to Colombia. If I wanted to choose Colombia, it would be just as cheap, more or less, to just fly straight from Salt Lake City and not go through another airport. But for instance, El Salvador, $147. I don't know a whole lot about El Salvador besides the fact that I know it is a smaller Central American country. I do know that El Salvador actually might not be on this visa. There's a visa for part of Central America that includes Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and I believe El Salvador. And you get a visa for all of the countries, so you can move freely within them. So it could be it could be a great trip to start and end in El Salvador and see multiple countries for $146 plus probably about $43 to and from Vegas. $189 for the entire flight. Now that's pretty cheap. That is pretty cheap. That is very, very doable. So California, Santa Ana, Ontario, Minneapolis, San Francisco. Yeah. So let's think about that. So now I'm going to write down El Salvador for $146 from Vegas. So let's look at the dates on this. So I use Skyscanner to just get an idea of what countries and what months could be the cheapest options that I have. And when I'm planning a trip, I'm also thinking about the future. I'm going to be in the Salt Lake City area for at least another year. So I'm going to also look at the cheapest months to fly out of Salt Lake City and see if maybe it's just cheaper to go to El Salvador some other time, and so I don't maybe want to take it this trip. And so I'm going to go up here and go to cheapest month, one adult, everywhere. Now I imagine that the cheapest month is going to come up sometime in February or March because you're scoring those last minute deals. Okay, why is this doing this? So I want to maximize the amount of places I can go for the cheapest amount of money this year. which is why we're going to look at all year in addition to May, because I also want to think, if it's just as cheaper to go to El Salvador in August, I might not go in May. I might go to the Dominican Republic, which is actually, that would be a great trip. So we'll think about that one as well. Okay, well, we're having a little bit of issue here getting this to load, but let's see. Dominican Republic for $240. The Dominican Republic, 240 round trip from Vegas. Wow. Okay. I could also go to Canada. I think their borders are still quite closed. So we're probably not going to do that. Okay. Let's reload Skyscanner since it's deciding that it doesn't want to work. There it goes. Okay. So Salt Lake City to everywhere. Cheapest month. Okay. So let's see what Skyscanner has for us. It is saying that going directly from Salt Lake City, again, the cheapest places to go: Mexico, Puerto Rico, Belize, Canada. So it looks like El Salvador might be a good trip to plan for May. Dominican Republic, $306 or $240 from Las Vegas. So it seems like we have some pretty consistent amounts of money for flights. Let's see where the cheapest place to fly into Mexico is. Cancun. I've been in Cancun multiple times. One good thing to know about Cancun is you can get to Belize very easily from Cancun by taking a bus. That's only like $30. San Jose Cabo. I haven't been there. I've been to Puerto Vallarta a lot. So I think the cheapest and easiest option for me, it does look like, is going to be to fly out of Vegas. But we have one more place we can look, and that's to fly out of Los Angeles. Now, most people spend the most amount of money on a trip on their flights. And so the reason why I spend so much time just looking at flights is because if I can cut off a lot of money in flights, I've automatically saved myself probably a good 25% of the amount of money that I will be spending on my trip, especially going to a place like Central America, South America, Eastern Europe, or Asia. You are going to not spend very much money in terms of food if you're on a budget. So if you can find those really cheap flights, you're already halfway there. So let's look at Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a little more expensive to fly to from Salt Lake City. I think it's about, on average, $100 round trip. So it's not necessarily a great option, but so $131 from Los Angeles. So if you remember, we were at $189 flying from Salt Lake to Vegas to El Salvador. And we're at probably $231 to fly to Los Angeles and then El Salvador. So not really a great deal, honestly. Haiti, $184. That one didn't show up anywhere else. Ecuador. Actually, this one is very interesting because Ecuador is kind of expensive to fly to sometimes. $213. That's a pretty good trip. Panama, Dominican Republic, Peru, Aruba. That's a cheap flight to Aruba. Nicaragua, Cayman Islands. Now, when I'm on a budget, there are certain places that I do try to avoid. Wow, you people who live in Los Angeles, for under $500 a trip, you have a lot of options. I haven't even reached the $500 mark. I personally I try not to spend more than $500 round trip on a flight, especially if I'm only going for a week. If I'm going for a month, it's easier to justify. But while flying out of LA, I mean, Hungary, Paraguay, Egypt, Croatia, the UK, the Ukraine, Slovakia, Portugal. Wow, there are a lot of options. But for me, I have to add on another $100 here just to get to LA. So I'm thinking I have some good knowledge on where to go in terms of flights. And in this instance, I might as well fly out of Las Vegas. And from Vegas, for under $300, I can either go to the Dominican Republic for $240-ish or El Salvador for $146-ish. So let's look up from here. Let's look up both of these countries and the best times to travel to them, because I don't mind going on the shoulder season. And yeah, so I don't mind traveling on the shoulder season. That's pretty important. But also, I don't want to be necessarily going during the rainy season. Sometimes it can be okay, but especially the Dominican Republic is in the Caribbean, so we want to watch out for hurricanes. So it's time to travel Republic. April and May. Okay, that's actually that makes me kind of excited to go to the Dominican Republic this May. So April, May it sounds like April and May are shoulder seasons for the DR, which is great. Shoulder season is my favorite time to travel, actually, because you tend to get all of the good weather without the tourists. December until March, the weather is warm, less chance of downpours, dry season. So it sounds like if I go to El Salvador during May, I'm going to probably run into some weather issues, which is fine. It will probably be quite cheap to do that. But looks like it's also going to be a pretty hot month. Very hot, probably rainy. 80 degrees Fahrenheit on average. I mean, I'm going to Central America, so. Best time, driest time. Okay, it seems like to me, maybe I should spend a little more money, go to the Dominican Republic during this prime seat time. And it looks like tickets to El Salvador are quite cheap throughout the year from where I'm starting. So I think that kind of settles it. Let's plan a trip to the Dominican Republic for the month of May. All right, so here's how I do this now. I'm going to now take a look at when I can travel. So To buy tickets, I always use Google Flights. I love Google Flights. They're pretty fantastic. There are a lot of like really great features on Google Flights that I feel like other flight finders don't necessarily have. And I will show you one of them. So we're gonna plan a round trip economy. I'm not that picky. April and May through May. Okay. So once we start, one of the things I love about this is that you can filter out your travels. And so, or you can filter out like the stops, you can filter out airlines, duration of your flight, bags. For a month-long trip, I would have a carry-on, probably just a backpack. And then you can start looking at trips. Oh wait, I need to pick where I'm flying into. Probably Punta Cana. Oh, actually, it looks like Santo Domingo. It's a little cheaper. Okay, let's do that. So Vegas to Santo Domingo, May 1st through the 31st. And this is why I never book on Skyscanner. You don't want to book through third parties because you might not get insurance. There might be some issues. Now, it is saying here that it's a little bit more expensive than what Skyscanner was quoting us, but still within my budget, and that's quite important. So it says, if we leave April 26th, $348 versus $361, could be worth it to leave the 26th and come back a little bit earlier. So I'm just kind of checking. Ooh, 317. So I could do 3 weeks in the Dominican Republic for $317, 11-hour flight, stop in Florida. That's not really the best. That's not quite as cheap as we were otherwise led to believe. So let's try Punta Cana. So I spend a lot of times looking at flights like this. And one of the things I love about Google Flights is that you can track prices. So it looks like it's quite a bit more expensive to fly into Punta Cana. Salt Lake City, let's try that. $639, not quite worth it. 502, again, not quite worth it, I think. 503, okay. Let's exit out this. Oh, hey. $317 round trip. I don't love this. Yeah, don't love that. But this is very doable. I'm still young, if I were quite a bit older, maybe doing an overnight in the Fort Lauderdale airport wouldn't be great. But again, doable. $317. So here's something that I also will do. When I notice that I have layover somewhere, I will look for a flight specifically to the layover and just like build myself my own layover and see if I can save myself money. Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot. So I'm starting a new window here. specifically so my like cookies, so that the flights don't get tracked. I don't want the prices to start going up. So that is on Fort Lauderdale. And let's see. $216, $158. Unless that flight to the Dominican Republic is very, very cheap, I don't think this will be worth it. Although, exactly a month, $158. Round trip from Salt Lake City to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. JetBlue doesn't include my baggage. So that's quite a big price jump. 192. Okay, so this, I'm going to say probably is not worth it. $208. But it potentially is. So let's see, Fort Lauderdale, Dominican Republic. Carry-on bag flight. No, that's not quite worth that. Okay. I do like to check that. One other thing I like to check, one other app I like to check before I commit to purchasing a set of airline tickets is AirWonder. Okay. I like this app a lot. It doesn't tend to find you the cheapest flights all the time, but it gives you a good idea of layover cities. So adding on cities to get a little bit more out of your vacation and sometimes save you money, but not always. So we're going to say we're going to go to Salt Lake City, or we're flying out of Vegas. Okay, and we're heading to Santo Domingo. SDQ. So we're going to SDQ from LAS. And the cheap flights that we found were from April 26th through May 18th. April 26th through May 18th. So, as you saw down here, I don't know if you saw it, I kind of clicked out of it really fast. Let's open that back up. It's got our flights. It's got our flights at quite cheap, actually. What, 219, 196, 219. So let's get this a little bit different. It's like the cheapest flights. Okay, I think I've got that down to $213. Okay. So we're gonna let this do its thing just a little bit here. And so then we're gonna click this big red button and we're gonna find stopovers. So the cheapest I have here, $317. This is saying if we go to any of these places, we're gonna save ourselves a lot of money. So let's go all the way down until it says that we're not saving money anymore. So we could go to Ontario and save ourselves $38. New York, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I'm from St. Louis originally, so don't want to go to Kansas City. San Juan, actually, that would be pretty cool. Go spend a little time in Puerto Rico. Baltimore, Chicago, San Jose. Oh, that's California. Miami, Santa Ana, Fort Lauderdale, San Diego, Los Angeles. Okay, so I'm thinking if I'm going to save money, it's not so much about saving money on this flight, although it is. That is important, of course. But I'm thinking if I want to go somewhere on a budget, do I want to go to Los Angeles? Can you go to Los Angeles on a budget? Of course you can. Is it going to be maybe as exciting? I don't know. Fort Lauderdale, again, just go sit on the beach. San Diego, Santa Ana. I think it could be, New Orleans. I think saving $100 to go to San Juan would be pretty awesome, honestly. So it's got me for 3 days in Puerto Rico. So let's take a look at that because that's pretty cool. Could also see about saving money on the way back. But again, if you're saving $500 on your flight, but spending $7 on your layover, you're not really saving yourself all that much money. So it doesn't look like any of these are going to save us money. So let's see what Air Wander is pulling up. Drink some coffee in the meantime. $333 round trip to go from Las Vegas, round trip, adding in 3 days in Puerto Rico. That's pretty cheap, actually. That's pretty cheap. Let's do Air Wander. I don't know why I'm typing in all caps. Let's do Air Wander and fly out of Salt Lake City this time and see what it finds us. Choose Santo Domingo, right? And we want to go, I'll see, 205. $231. Okay. Like what I see so far. Let's calculate stopovers here. It says if I spend a few days in Orlando, Florida, I can save myself a little bit of money. I've been to Orlando. I don't want to go back to Orlando. Although I could go to Harry Potter World. Or for an extra $71, I could go to LA. Or $78, I could go to San Juan. Let's go to San Juan. And then on my way back, let's see if it's going to save us any money. Not really. And nowhere I'd like to go. So I'll say also spending 3 days in San Juan without having to fly through Vegas. Let's see if that's worth our time. Now, some questions I get about being a travel agent. Can travel agents book you flights? Yes, we can book you flights. However, chances are we're not going to save you any money on booking a flight. In fact, what I would do is instead pay somebody a $20 booking fee, pay your travel agent like a $20 booking fee, and just have them do exactly what I'm doing for you and see if they can find you really cheap flights that make sense for you. Maybe you want to pay a little more for the convenience of flying out of your home city without having to worry about having a layover in another city. So for me, this isn't incredibly worth it. $487. What I tend to do is if I am only flying out for a week or a weekend, I will fly directly from whatever city I'm in, Salt Lake City in this case, because the convenience factor. I don't have extra time to waste. But I'm planning a trip for an entire month. And because of that, I have the time to spend 6 hours in the airport on a layover. I can just take my laptop and watch TV or something, or do some work, whatever. And I'm not stressing about that too much. So I have a little more wiggle room. So for me, this flying out of my home airport doesn't make as much sense. I can save over $100 and add in an extra destination. Yeah, add an extra destination. That sounds great. $317 for this layover, or fly from Las Vegas to Puerto Rico. Honestly, this sounds great. Yeah, this sounds great. Now, I don't incredibly like that I only have a day in Puerto Rico. I wonder if I can make this a little longer. Again, it's the same price to make it an extra day longer, and I think I would really prefer to do that. So let's look up flights. Okay. So, just to recap, I have found a flight from Vegas, which I know is going to cost me less than $50 to fly to and from. So I have $50. Plus whatever it shows up here. I think the last one is $330. So under $400, and I will be going to 2 separate destinations. It's pretty great. I could stay overnight in Vegas if I wanted to. I've been to Vegas a lot, and so I would rather just spend 4 hours in the airport or what have you. So 12:20. So we have about 20 more minutes for me to show you the rest of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to let this just keep loading. So this is why I have a piece of paper next to me at all times, because I have a lot of moving pieces. So right now we know Las Vegas. Fly in on the 26th, or fly from Vegas on the 26th to 362. That's still pretty good. We'll take it. So Vegas on the 26th to San Juan, SJU, and then SJU to Santo Domingo on the 30th, and then Santo Domingo, SDQ, back to Vegas on the 28th. And so depending on what time the flights are, I would fly to and from Vegas April 26th and May 28th. I'm not super worried about that. I'm not actually going to buy these tickets, although I could, because this does sound quite fun. But I'm not actually going to buy these tickets quite yet. But $362. So let's find round trip from Salt Lake City. Yes. Oh, these are quite expensive. These are more expensive than normal. $128. So, not my favorite. I normally find these for much cheaper. So I would feel comfortable paying that. It's still total price under the $500 that I want to spend. Um, but could potentially just be um, as cheap to just fly right out of Salt Lake City. So that's the game that I played. This is why it takes so long for me to find a flight and then actually book it, is because I'm constantly looking for the absolute cheapest destination. And does that make sense to me? It doesn't make sense for me to actually book that flight. So I think I've pretty much decided that going to Santo Domingo is a good move, because no matter how I fly, if I book the stopover or if I just fly direct, it's still under that $500 range. But I think, wow, that is very expensive. That is quite a bit more expensive than normal. I'm wondering why. So let's look from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles. Cheaper, a lot cheaper. Only $98. This is a good flight too, actually. So let's just pretend that I'm gonna book that. We would want something a little later in the day, 12 to 3. That seems a bit better. So I've got April 26th through May 25th. So 26th through May 25th is when I would fly back. So let's find something there. So I know it seems like a really long time to find these kinds of deals, but these deals are how I flew to Iceland for $99 round trip. That actually happened. This is very confusing. Las Vegas, negative $24. Seems like actually that could make some sense. Huh. 26 through the, I don't want to stay in Vegas for 3 days. But yeah, yes, this kind of research, I love doing this. But this kind of research is how I went to Iceland for $99. I went to, I flew into Mexico for under $100. Things like that. So it can definitely be worth it. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, I don't have the time for this. That's okay. You have options. If you've ever seen that triangle, that's like you can get it done fast and cheap, or you can get it done cheap and well, or you can get it done, fast, cheap, well. But you can only have 2 of them. So which do you want? Do you want it done like right, but you want to spend less money for it? You can have that, but you can't have it cheap and fast, or you have to pick 2 of the things on that little triangle. Seems like I'm just flying to Las Vegas. Like, the world really wants me to go back to Las Vegas, apparently. Now, I do find that Air Wander, love them, but I do find that they're not the cheapest. The cheapest way to find flights, always. They're quite convenient, but in this instance, it seems like they're probably not going to end up helping me. $372 to fly from LAX to Vegas to Santo Domingo. That's not any cheaper. Not any cheaper. So let's go to Google. So I find a lot of the times, if you go to these online master classes, I actually attended one the other day, market research. And I went to it, and this one was like, look, I'm going to show you how to find flights for under $100. Okay, I thought. I don't know what this is doing. Okay, that showed me how you can find a flight under $100. Well, she went to Skyscanner. She picked one-way tickets, left out of a huge airport, like New York City, I think. And I was like, oh, look at all your $100 flight options. On paper, that's excellent, but the reality of the situation is you're not going to find flights that cheap from every airport. They're not going to be convenient. They're you're going to have to pay taxes and fees. They usually don't include carry-on bag. Now you can make that work, but I'm saying, like, you can't always expect miracles. It's not that these people are lying to you. They're just not quite telling you the entire truth. This is the truth. This is, if you want to find a cheap flight, this is what it takes. It's not just one click of a button and you find $100 flight. In order to find cheap flights, what I do is I'm part of all sorts of flight groups. I get those Scott cheap flight updates. You name it. I have Google alerts everywhere. It's not like I just go to Skyscanner, find a $100 flight, and I'm done. Santo Domingo. Okay, so I'm getting distracted, but again, we're looking for flights to Santo Domingo. And I have my trip to Los Angeles for $99, 26th through the 25th. Oh, these are not bad. 26th through the 25th. Or how about the 27th through 24th? You know, these flights aren't really incredibly cheap. It looks like they're a lot cheaper if I chose different dates. So, and again, I want to carry on bag if I'm going somewhere for an entire month. On the 26th, we can't leave at 6 a.m., right? We get in at 9:12. This could work. And then are leaving at 12:20. So we'd have to get a pretty early flight. That's cutting a little close. 1 p.m. Not going to work. Looks like we're going to have to fly in the day before. And yeah, 24th. And they can fly in at whatever time. We could spend the night. Okay. $374. So we're at $473 if I go this route. Again, it's under $500. I can just fly straight out of Salt Lake City. $473 and save myself some money. So, Santo Domingo, let's check the same prices. So that's $541. These prices are starting to go up. Has anyone else noticed that? Yeah, $539. So for convenience sake, We could just do that, fly out of Salt Lake City directly. But again, we would save probably about $45 flying into a different airport. So we've learned I cannot find a flight, no matter what Skyscanner says. I cannot find a flight for under like $400 from here to the Dominican Republic. Now I can find it for the max amount of money, $473. That's not bad. Round trip flights for under $500, that's my threshold. However, it would be a lot cheaper to go somewhere else in terms of flights. This is what I've discovered. So, in terms of, what did we say? El Salvador. To fly into San Salvador for this $455. To fly into El Salvador from Salt Lake City, still cheaper. Cancun, way cheaper. Oh, here we go. San Jose, a lot cheaper. We go to San Jose. I've been to Costa Rica a couple of times. I love Costa Rica. Do I want to go back for a month? Probably not quite. But Punta Cana, 503. But for the sake of this trip, could be worth going to. Medellin, Cartagena, those are a little expensive. Bogota. Oh, Bogota. But $289 actually. It's kind of hard to pass that up. Mexico City. Mexico City is actually a really great place to fly into because if you get really, really cheap flights to Mexico City, you tend to be able to find them to other parts of Central and South America very, very cheap as well. Mexico City is a huge travel hub. Huge. If you've ever been to that airport, it's gigantic. $280 to Merida. I've never been to Merida. I've been to this side, but I've never been over here. So that could be a great flight, actually. $280. El Salvador, San Jose. Let's go to San Jose. Wow. That's a long flight. That is a very long flight. But again, we're there for a month. I bet we could go to San Jose and take a bus up to Guatemala. $291. 2 hours, 9-hour layover in Dallas, 1 hour in Miami. What would I do for 9 hours in Dallas? I think about these things a lot. It's overnight too, 7 to 5. Wow, that sounds like it really sucks. So again, I love these, maybe not influencers, but people who talk about going to places for like $100. Yeah, you're going there for $100, but you're spending 9 hours, 10 hours in an airport. Because you have to think about this. By the time you leave the airport, get to your hotel, and then go to sleep, wake back up, get back to your hotel, and then have to go back through security, you're going to get maybe 6 hours of sleep in a real bed, which is fine, but you're paying for that. So now if it looks like if I leave the day before, it's even cheaper. Yeah. I wonder if that's the same 10-hour layover. 11-hour layover in Charlotte. I actually have friends who live near Charlotte, so that could be a good layover, even though it's overnight. What's this one? 10-hour layover in Charlotte overnight. and this one, 9-hour layover in Dallas overnight. Now, I do want to say that even though I'm maybe complaining a little bit about some of these layovers, in terms of being a budget traveler, I have slept in airports quite a bit. And that's one way that this priority pass, there's a reason I have this bag, is because you pay a flat fee and then you get X amount, depending on which tier you decide to go with, you get X amount of airport lounge stays included in your membership. And I have used those lounge stays to sleep comfortably in airports, or to have a shower and a hot breakfast, or if it's a night layover, to spend 4 hours drinking wine for free in an airport, which really helps the time go by. So now you've seen some of how the process that I go through in order to find a cheap flight. We didn't actually settle on one today, but now you have an idea of what it takes to actually find like a cheap flight, and all of the things that go into it. You have to consider your layovers. You have to consider what times do your flights leave? Does that include baggage? Those kinds of things. Now, I fly out of an airport that's not the best for flying, so we do get some good deals, but $475 to fly into Bogota, $289 to fly into San Jose, that kind of thing, or $337 to fly into Belize City. I am paying for that kind of convenience, but paying for the convenience to fly in and out of my home city, but I have 10-hour layover. So is it really worth it? Or should I pay more and fly into Los Angeles or Las Vegas and go to different places for almost twice the amount of money? So those are some of the things that you need to think about when you're booking trips. Don't let anyone fool you into thinking that it's easier than all of that. Maybe an easier version is to do something like Scott's Cheap Flights, something of that nature. I have used it before, and they do a lot of this work for you. But again, what's the trade-off that you're paying for there? So my name is Brittany. I hope you enjoyed listening to me kind of ramble on and go through all of these steps to figure out how I can travel as cheaply as possible. If you catch my next video, we'll go into more depth about finding accommodations in specific countries. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.